Think about how much of your life is already online. Your photos, your location, opinions, even random thoughts at 2 a.m. when you ought to be sleeping. The things you never actually posted, but you clicked on. Pages you searched, or pages you lingered on just for a little too long. Now, somewhere along the way, privacy stopped being something we protected and became something we slowly gave away. And most of us do not really stop to think about the cost of giving away our privacy online. On this episode of the Center Stage podcast, we are asking a hard but necessary question. Isn't privacy slowly disappearing in the age of social media? And if so, what are we actually giving up? How platforms have reshaped what privacy even means anymore, and how much of ourselves we are unknowingly and knowingly handing over every time we go online. The conversation today brings together two very different but equally important perspectives. Let me start by introducing our guests. I'll start with Knimi Musa, who is joining us from the tech side. I think what he does, I don't even know how to do that. I don't know whatever happens behind the scenes, behind those platforms when you click. But he works with a very reputable tech organization and he brings in that dynamics and that perspective and that understanding. And Salem King, who I've known for about 7, 8 years, actually brings in the angle from the social side of content creation online. Now, between both of them, we're going to have a very interesting conversation today. This is the Center Stage podcast, and I am Auntie Funke, and you are welcome.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. So let me start with Salem. I think my question first just talks about. Let me start with myself actually. For many years on Facebook, I only had my followers were less than 10. Are you laughing? Don't laugh now. And most of those members, most of those followers were my family members.
Yeah.
And then one day, one of my children said, "If you are going to be on Facebook, be on Facebook. If you are not going to be on Facebook, just drop out." And then I summoned the courage, to start to accept followers and also to follow other people. So I guess our conversation today, everyone listening can resonate unless you don't have a life online or you don't click news online or you don't watch the online space. So Salem, because of what you do, how much of our daily lives are we really giving away without thinking about it?
Oh, so much actually. I made a video recently just talking to parents and just everyone about what you shouldn't share online. And I talked about how, for example, if you go to a restaurant, don't share that you're at the restaurant until you've left. Don't share pictures of your kids that show the logo of their school. Just a couple of things like that. There were people who were like, wow, I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to do that because we've become such a social generation. You go out to eat, you're taking a picture of your food before you even eat the food.
I do that.
But you're posting it and you're putting your location. But I've had situations where I had friends that were followed to the place where they posted on their story. And a total stranger says, "Oh, I saw it on your story, so I came to say hi." Now, it's scary because that person had no bad intentions, but it could easily be someone with bad intentions. So we need to take into account the fact that you have a responsibility to protect yourself. Just the way you have a responsibility to protect yourself when you're on the street. Of course, someone driving shouldn't drive into the sidewalk, but just in case a crazy person drives into the sidewalk, you should be looking. You should walk on the side. You should walk against traffic so that you can see if a car is missing their way. It's the same thing on social media. We need to take into account the fact that not everybody sees the world as I do. Not everyone is responsible. Not everyone intends to use this for the purposes that it was created for. There are people with bad intentions. And if you don't protect yourself, you can't give anybody else that responsibility. Yeah.
So you're bringing it down to a matter of responsibility.
100%. I think everyone has a responsibility that they need to take seriously. But the thing is, whether you know it or not, you have the responsibility.
Right.
So everyone now has to just take it more seriously and be aware, of the amount of danger. Because just like you said, your Facebook where you had 10 friends. That, I think that's how human beings were supposed to be. This world we live in where you have access to 1,000 people, it's not natural. It's actually not natural. So we need to know that, okay, now that I have 1,000 people, how do I protect myself so that I'm only exposing as much as I want at the time when I want, in my own timing and my own pace, and not just living as if social media is a safe space.
So I know a lot of parents can actually resonate with what you said about making sure you protect your children, especially those who are minors, and not just putting all the information out there. So I worry a lot when I even see some of my siblings post their younger children, and I'm like, do you want to leave that or take that down? Well, let's leave that for another day. So from the tech side, we assume that some of the things that we post is private, but can you tell us actually how much is really private from the back end?
Okay, first off, it's an honor to be here on the Center Stage podcast and to be alongside Salem.
Yay, Salem.
Hearing from what you just shared and his perspective, when you share all these details online, one of the core things that is very primary is the fact that as you give out this information as to your location, the picture, and also some of the
Details
data,
around,
that really exposes part of what you don't know what that data is used for. From the back end, as a technical person, as a technical person, those data are used, and just because you maybe delete the picture, delete the data, that does not mean that it actually vanishes.
You want to say that again?
Say
that again.
just because you delete the data,
yes.
Just because you delete the picture, you delete the location, that does not mean that the data is going out of the world. The system behind the servers, the system architecture, have a way of saving this data in such a way that when there is a need to retain them, you can get them back.
So is this because of the I agree that we click when we get on these platforms? Or?
Yes. In this part of the world, I think as Nigerians, we click on the agree button more than as fast as we say amen in the church.
Like me.
So
and
we don't really,
who takes time to read those
we
things?
We don't really know what the terms are.
Yeah.
And if I'm to forefront a bit on the conversation, is the fact that as much as these terms put us on the harm way, Nigeria Data Protection Act had made provision in such a way that those terms have a way of how they are being used, what they are being used for. It has a way of protecting the user of that data or the user of the platform.
So if you're not aware that in Nigeria we have the Data Protection Act, you better go read it. Salem, can I ask you, at what point do we cross that bridge between safety, privacy, and conscience when it comes to what we post? When is too much?
When is too much in the sense of how much of our personal lives we're divulging, or in trust with the general public?
I think you can start with the first one. How much of ourselves? When is it too much? You understand?
Yeah, so first of all, I think it's different from person to person. There are a lot of people who have built thriving careers off of how much of themselves they share. I hope they know what they're doing. And they have some system of protecting themselves. Maybe they speak to a therapist. I just hope. But I think first of all, the sense of self-awareness is important to know this is why I am doing this. When I speak to people who are sharing a lot of their life on social media with no purpose other than to just vent, I tell them you're not supposed to be doing that with strangers on the internet. You're supposed to be speaking to either a trusted professional, a close friend, a family member, not social media, because this is the public, it's your life, but to them it's the gist of the day, and in a few hours there'll be another gist that they'll jump to. So I think everyone just needs to approach social media with a sense of purpose. Like, this is why I am here. If you're on social media just because you want to connect with your friends, with your family, there's no reason why you need to be sharing so much. Just those little updates, they go a long way. But if you're like me, for example, where you're on social media and you're trying to build a career out of it, I think it's then important to stop and ask, what do I want to achieve through social media that I cannot achieve any other way? And now that I'm clear on what that is, what do I need to put on social media to help me arrive at that goal? And also decide what you will never share with the world. I think it's important for everyone to decide that no matter what kind of creator they are. I follow some creators that will never talk about their marriage. You know, you will never catch them answering any question about their children. They only come to talk about the topic they are known for, and they will never talk about anything else. I'm not saying they are the standard, because there are other people who are in lifestyle, you know, and other kinds of content where they have to show different things. But I think everyone should just have a boundary mentally, like this is a part of my life that will always only be private and I will never share with the world. I think it's important to make that distinction before you even start taking any steps.
So I would have asked Salem this question, but let me ask you. So do you think it's possible to build an authentic presence online?
Yes, it's possible. Just like Salem said, I'll draw from that. I think it's just about being definite of what you want to share online. Your online presence should be purposeful. From a technical background, for everything you do, just as I said previously, there is a trail, like a shadow, a kind of digital shadow that you are creating.
I like
Shadow that you are
digital
creating.
shadow.
So it's very necessary that as much as that shadow is unbeknown to you, you may not know it completely of what it is. It is out there, someone can harvest it. So the point I'm trying to make, just not to digress much, is the fact that as much as it is possible for you to build an authentic social media presence, it is also good for you to be very purposeful about it as to what information you are giving out, as to what engagement you are having. As a professional person, when you're talking about Facebook, if I can recall from my own personal journey, at some point I didn't need Facebook anymore. I needed more of LinkedIn. So I leverage on that platform to build my own professional, let's say, avatar. That is the online presence. And that really helps me a lot. So it's very, very much possible for someone to build an authentic online presence.
So if I hear you correctly, I think I took two things from you. And I like that concept of having a digital shadow. Remembering that you have a digital shadow, because you really can't shake off a shadow, can you?
No, you can't.
The shadow is always there with you. So, and it just reminds me of this phrase: the internet never forgets. Yeah. So it's interesting. Okay. Salem, anything to add?
Yes, I believe it's 100% possible to have an authentic social media presence, because we need to not think about social media as different from real life, because it's 2026, whether we like it or not, social media is here to stay. So it is a part of our lives now.
AI takes everything.
It's in a lot of ways, it's an extension of our lives now.
Yeah.
You know what he said. Some people call it a digital footprint. A lot of times you apply for a job, the recruiter is googling you. You send an email, you pitch for something, they're googling you, they're checking your social media accounts. What's this person posting? What are they saying on Twitter? Even the things you say about your football club, how are you saying it? How are you framing those messages? Those things matter.
Yeah.
So ultimately, the authenticity of your social media presence will only be as good as your authenticity as a human being. So we shouldn't be too afraid, as long as you are a good person and you take integrity and credibility seriously. Feel free to allow those things to translate into your social media life. Do not think about it like, oh, it's social media, so it has to be a different thing. No, as long as this is who you are, present that same version of yourself, just in a protected manner.
So Knimi said about, should I call it shifting between LinkedIn and Facebook, not needing Facebook. I don't believe you. Some of us still use Facebook. We still use Facebook like no man's business. So do you agree, Salem, that you have to be, should I call it a digital chameleon? But I would worry if my presence or the profile I have on LinkedIn is totally different from who I am on Instagram. So is that what Knimi is saying, or what has been your experience, just to keep it authentic?
Yeah, that's a good question, because there was a trend one time, I don't know if you guys saw, where people would post this is me on Instagram and this is me on LinkedIn.
Oh, really?
Two different people. It was a very hilarious trend, but it's understandable because people go on LinkedIn so they can get hired. but people are on Instagram for different reasons. But the thing is, people also get hired on
Yeah,
Instagram.
Sure.
For me, for example, every morning when I wake up and post on Instagram, it's not for fun. It's because this is my business. That's how I'm thinking about it. That's how I'm approaching it. So it will differ from person to person. And I think we should just forgive ourselves. If I'm on Facebook and it's just my family and friends, I'll post something funny every now and then. I'll share a video that I found funny. Look at this cat, see what this cat was doing. I'll share that with my family and friends. Obviously, I will not be as comfortable sharing that on LinkedIn because of the purpose of that platform for me. So it depends on, what your purpose is on each platform. I think everyone just needs to be clear on that and not beat ourselves up about, being presenting differently in different places.
Yeah. So, Knimi, can I ask, does the algorithm actually put pressure on content creators?
Okay. Does the algorithm put
Yeah.
pressure on the content creator?
Or is it the other way around?
It's the other way around because
What?
I don't understand. But sometimes when you just speak, for example, I can be talking about I want to buy a car. Then the next thing, cars are showing up on my.
Yes. So the other way around I mean is the fact that the pressure, I'll take it from the part of negative. So I'm coming from the side of positive now. So the algorithm is there to help the creators. Yes. Because just as I said, for like the example you just said now, that is like an ad, a targeted ad because of your engagement online.
I didn't go online.
You didn't go online.
I just said it, and I'm not joking. I said it, and then I can just let's just continue. So someone is listening.
Okay, so because the algorithm is there to enable the creators, all right. So much more that for what the creator is working towards, so that you have the targeted audience to engage with that content. The algorithm is there to tell you that, this very audience like such and such and such content. So their engagement online or their engagement with such content should be able to help with the help of the algorithm that run from the back end. Yeah. So that is where I'm seeing it from. That as a content creator, those algorithms that are built from the back end are built based on the user's engagement. And if the content creator can get to know about how the algorithm work, I think they can leverage on it to build content that are beneficial to their audience.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe before you wanted to say something, right?
No, I wanted to argue with him, but he's made a good point.
I dodged it, actually. I dodged it.
Okay. So before I ask the next question, I first want to thank both of you for being here in country, because you have the choice. You could have japat, like some young people have, but you're still here, supporting the trend, supporting the country, and contributing to development. But how does money, Salem, how does money affect the choice you make in terms of what you post, and where is the place of conscience?
That's a very good question, especially because of where we are in Nigeria and the condition of the economy. So it's influenced a lot of things. There are certain decisions that people would think about twice before, that now it's just, I need to eat. So on that hand, you cannot understand. But that doesn't take away the importance of ethics and what's ethical and what's not. I think everybody still needs to have some sort of moral compass. Personally, my own moral compass, which I recommend to everyone who works in social media, is if a brand or a company reaches out to me and I know that I would not recommend this to my family and my friends, I do not recommend it to my audience, no matter how much is on the line. So, for example,
and I believe you.
Yeah, for a certain, I don't want to mention any names, but there are brands that function in a certain part, in a certain segment of the sports industry. For example, that I don't want my family member in there, so I would be careful to not, I would not even respond to the email in the first place. So there's things like that. Money does play a part, but I think longevity and just long-term credibility should matter more to creators. a lot of times creators are viewing the influence they have from a point of view of, I could lose this any day, so I need to cash out as much as I can now while I'm hot. But we need to move from seeing ourselves to creators and seeing ourselves as custodians. Because if you're in a position where you're influencing people's buying decisions, you're a very powerful person.
Sure.
There's a chance you're even more powerful than leaders, right? Because leaders have to organize an event, leaders have to put people together, but you can sit in your house, make a video, post that video, and then thousands of people from anywhere in the world make decisions based on what you said, whether it's informed or not. So every creator needs to understand that I'm in a position of responsibility. I have such a huge responsibility. I have infinite power just because I have access to people's hearts and minds, and to just steward that better. Yes, money plays a part. Yes, the drive for success does play a part in what people decide to choose and what people decide to engage in that they normally wouldn't. But I don't think it's a hopeless situation. I think we don't have to feel defeated by it. Everyone can come back and just approach it better generally.
So thank you for that. I think as we begin to round up, my last conversation is going to talk around how best can we make sure that we protect ourselves, even if we're not tech savvy, and if we love to produce and consume content. So let me start with you.
So how best we can protect ourselves? Just as I said from the beginning, for every user, if you refer to the Nigeria Data Protection Act, we have the data subject, all right? Then we have the data controller and then the processor. I'm mentioning these terms just to let you know where you belong. As a data subject, you have every that is the user of the content, that is me and you. We have every right to make references to what our rights are legally and ethically, just as he mentioned. That will really help us to have a better view of what we're supposed to do on the social media platform. The privacy, the topic of the privacy will be much better, because all of this data, as much as is out there, it is in our own interest to ensure that the volume at which unauthorized, that is the privacy now, unauthorized people have access to it. It is within our control to see what can be done or what cannot be done in terms of the engagement that we have on the social media platform.
Thank you very much, Knimi. Salem?
I think I would just say, understand that the internet never forgets. And whatever it is you want to put out, ask yourself, am I okay with this being out forever? I think that's a good...
Yeah, forever.
Yes.
I
think that's a good way to decide that, okay, maybe I shouldn't
forever
put this
as in
out.
forever.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
And then again, I think everyone should also think about their future hopes and dreams. Like if, for example, you want to work in politics, you want to run for office,
you want to get a good job.
You want to get a good job, you want to work in media, you want to have any form of front-facing roles. There's types of content you can't be making, even if you're 21 years old. You just cannot, because they will dig it out.
Yeah,
like
sure.
it will come out. It will come out during your campaign, and you will know how. Or one day when you're in ministry,
Or you apply for a visa, because they do that right now. That's even the thing.
So you can come up in so many places, and you just need to be more careful. So there may be somebody else who's able to get away with it because they're a musician, or they're something, some form of entertainer. But you, based on where you're heading, can't get away with it, and you need to just be clear on that and be more careful with everything else.
It's been a wonderful time having this conversation with Salem and Knimi. So if you've been listening, I can only encourage you to not forget that the internet never forgets. So if you are interested in having an excellent career, you want to work in government, you want to travel places, you want to flourish in life, you just want to have an aspiration that is positive, and you want a career path that you can be a role model to other people, irrespective of what you're doing. Can I just say, watch what you post. Ask yourself, why am I posting this? Is like Salem said, am I comfortable with this being online forever? So thank you so much, Salem. Thank you, Knimi, for coming to the Center Stage podcast today. I hope you come the next time we ask.
Of course. Anytime. Hi, my name is Salem King, and I am on the Center Stage podcast.
Hi, my name is Knimi. I am on the Center Stage podcast.
So Knimi, we have just for you, just to appreciate the time you spent with us today. It's just a token of appreciation. So thank you.
Thank you.
And Salem, thank you so much for coming to Center Stage podcast. We hope we'll see you next time.